Reiner goes for a run around the fringes. Reiner puts a kick over for himself. Reiner! Oh, he's more dangerous than climate change. Reiner is it. Hello and welcome to the Rugby Hive. I'm Dallen, Stanford, and despite my South African accent, I was fortunate enough to play rugby for the United States on the Sevens World Series.
And I'm MacDowell, a former Canadian Sevens international. Back in my playing days, I went head-to-head down in the USA.
For several years, Robin has coached international sevens for various countries, including Canada and Mexico. He's massively passionate about growing the game across the Americas through his MacDowell rugby program at all levels. I've been fortunate to be a World Rugby commentator for the past decade, getting the opportunity to be a lead broadcaster at the recent 2023 Rugby World Cup in France, the 2019 Rugby World Cup in Japan, and the amazing Sevens World Series.
More than a decade later, we are teaming up to bring you insights from legendary players coaches around the world.
This is the Rugby Hive podcast.
Dupont on the outside, back inside is Jalibert. Here come the French, linking beautifully. It's champagne rugby, and I can say that because it's from France.
Hello and welcome back to Season 4 of the Rugby Hive. It's been sensational to be back in the podcast world, and what amazing support we've seen for the previous episode with legend Nas Botha. Robin, quality, my friend.
Yeah, that guy can kick almost as good as me.
Exactly. But listen, how good to kick back up, and obviously great socials. People have been supporting us around the world. They often ask us if we have taken some time off. Will we ever return? We're back, my friend. We're back.
Never taken time off, but just a bit more rugby in between podcasts is all. So we're excited to be sharing these stories and continue to inspire with you.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Robs, what have you been up to since we last spoke, my friend?
Lots of rugby. I think about 4 or 5 countries and probably 20 cities, just growing the game. I was in the middle of Saskatchewan. I've been in Winnipeg, all the cold places. But most recently, I was with Canadian Olympic silver medalist Christy Skerfield, who you've commentated, as well as Brock Gallagher, who's played in the PR7s. He just debuted on the series a couple months ago in sevens, as well as he's playing 15s for Canada. So we took them up to Prince Rupert, like the proper Pacific Northwest, to grow the game. We had kids from 8 regions, kids taking 8-hour ferries. It was all happening. It was like the New Zealand of the North. Growing the game. So yeah, just lots of rugby high school stuff and getting excited for summertime here in Canada.
I love it. I've also taken a couple of trips to the East Coast a little bit, New York, covering Major League Rugby in the OS studios for ESPN. It's been a blast, such an exciting season. Your Canadian sensations for Chicago have been dominating. Brock Webster, unbelievable. He left New England Free Jacks after winning a title there. Mason Flesch, a bunch of Canadian legends have just been absolutely dominating, and they're undefeated so far. I don't know if anybody can stop them.
Yeah, no, I'm a big Webster's fan. I got to work with them at the U18 level. I think 7-8 years ago, originally, helped us qualify for the Youth Olympics, and that kid's just so talented, and he's got a bright career ahead of him yet.
No, amazing. And then just quickly, otherwise on my side, I've been working with the Broadcast Academy, inspiring, the next generation of commentators and voices from around the world. It's been amazing working with these next level sensations. Website is dallenstanford.com to get more details and work directly with me. And then, my friend, you and I have a remarkable event coming up in June. We head to Portugal for the Algarve 7 Sports Festival.
Yeah, can't wait. I mean, you're already dressed for it. I need to get my Speedo on and some suntan lotion. But yeah, so excited to be back in Portugal. I've only been there once for the Rugby Tennis Championship in 2021. The food is good. The people are lovely. And the views look amazing. I'm going with the Gorilla, the group out of Texas. So good old Jim and Mickey. And their outfits are the only guys better than you. So they'll be in hot pink with Gorilla. So can't wait. They're working in some maple leaf in there, but I'm coaching an elite women's team and excited to see you as well.
Yeah, it's going to be great. That's the great thing about the event. Colorful. It's right near the beach in Montegordo in Portugal on the Algarve coast. And then 7 different sports on display, which is very cool. I know you've been to a lot of multi-sports events, but for me, the first time going to Portugal a few years ago for this event was remarkable because all of a sudden you're watching netball, then there's open water swimming, paddle or paddle, however you want to say it. So you and I will try a few of the sports, all right, as the build-up teaser to it. At least I'm going to get some practice in before you arrive. And then I'm teaming up with the Irish Sevens Olympian, the sensation Harry McNulty. He's joining us in the booth. Tom Mitchell needs a haircut, so he's not available.
Well, Harry might need to shave his back in Portugal because it's so hot for that Irishman.
Exactly. All right. So algovsevens.com, get the information there. We'll see you. That'll be great. Now let's talk about today's guest, sensation Jack Hanratty. You know him really well. Tell us a bit more, my friend.
Yeah, first met Jack at a Canadian National U18 Sevens event, probably a decade ago, almost probably to the day, really. He moved from Ireland over to East Coast of Canada, in Nova Scotia there, and he grew the game. At the same time I was in Saskatchewan, he was doing God's work in Nova Scotia and has left such a legacy there. And then he was involved with the U20 Canadian women, made his way into the 15s, kind of set up for the senior women. And then when the role opened up for the Olympic job for the Canadian women, he took over that role. Hadn't really had a lot of sevens experience, but he's just such a great guy, and he's a very smart man, and he's the kind of guy that athletes want to play for. His results speak for himself, and he made history with Canadian women winning a silver medal, knocking off Australia in the semifinal a few years ago, and then he took on a university role. He was like, you know what, this international life is wild. I'm going to go with the stable route. I'm going to take a university role at the University of Ottawa. Was there for half a year, and the USA Eagles women's role dangled in front of him, and they reached out to him, I think, and he jumped on it, which I think is great because he's still young. He's got a lot of life in him, and having so much experience at such a young age as a coach is really going to help him with that women's team. And having the opportunity to work with a number of those athletes like Alev Kelter and Hallie and different stars in the US, I'm super excited that Jack's leading them. We're obviously sorry to miss him in the North, but he's not too far, and I don't always cheer for teams. I cheer for people, and I'm excited to see how they go.
Yeah, absolutely. We're really lucky to have him here in the US as well, like you said, but North American rugby looking strong, which is amazing. All right, my friend, a few thank yous and shout outs. Why don't you go first with Gilbert Rugby Canada, Canada Biltong, and your academy?
Yeah, Gilbert Rugby Canada has been a supporter since day one. Obviously, it's a brand's been around for over 200 years, but our big focus with Gilbert Rugby Canada is growing the game in Canada, specifically helping a lot of outreach programs, developing the game, and just connecting good people. Canadian Biltong, the man Paul Bennett, one of your South African brothers, shipping me up Biltong so I can stay well fed while I'm fishing all year. And of course, MacDowell Rugby, our full-time academy here on Vancouver Island, trying to again grow the game in North America and around the world.
Now, you do such wonderful work there, my friend. Amazing. I want to thank Avant Cape Brandy, co-founded by 15 international rugby players, voted best brandy in South Africa and around the world. Available in the Rainbow Nation and the UK, avantbrandy.com, and fill it up again, always, my friends. And then World Rugby Shop, just search Rugby Hive at worldrugbyshop.com and get some unbelievable Rugby Hive merch items, not just for yourself, but for your family and friends as well. And then Tsunami Sport, the eco-friendly teamwear for all sports. Don't just play, inspire. I've teamed up with them. There's a sleek, sensational Summer Sevens package. You can get your jersey, shorts, and socks with epic designs. Just $90 per person. You can message info@legacyecowear.com. Just say sleek sensation in the caption and they'll know who it is. They'll sort you out. And then interested in broadcasting, let me know, dallenstanford.com as well. All right, you stars, keep connected on our socials at Rugby Hive on X, Facebook, and YouTube, at My Rugby Hive on Instagram. Please be safe out there. We appreciate all the support. It's time now for Season 4, Episode 38 with USA Eagles Women's 15s head coach, Jack Hanratty. What an honor it is to have Jack Hanratty on the Rugby Hive podcast. Oh, he knows how to move around from Ireland to Canada into Nova Scotia to Vancouver Island to silver medal winning Canadian Olympic Sevens coach to University of Ottawa and now head coach of the USA Women's 15s program. Jack, welcome, my friend.
That sounds like a ridiculous journey. But, for a person that prides himself on family time and settling, that's a dreadful intro.
But listen, I just want to say it's a real coup for us to have you in America. We found out we're not far away from each other in San Diego. So Robin, I'm sorry, another great joins us.
Yeah, I was saying on the intro that so grateful for the legacy Jack's left here, but grateful he's still in North America doing great things, but not too far away.
Yeah, exactly. Jack, let's go right in the beginning. Let's talk about growing up in Ireland. Number one, where did you grow up and what sports did you enjoy as a youngster?
Yeah, I grew up in this, first of all, thanks, lads. Long time listener, first time joiner. I'm from a small town called Skerries in North County Dublin, which just was an amazing, I'm really fortunate of the town that I grew up in, the fact that I could walk to school. We were 5 minutes away from the rugby club. My mum and dad were just so positive at us trying everything. So my mum was my field hockey coach. I played rugby in Skerries, played Gaelic football. I think I dabbled in soccer. Tennis, like whatever it is, we tried everything. I don't think I found my sport yet, so hopefully, Dad, when we play pickleball, maybe I can. It's certainly not golf either, but I try them all. But I was grew up there, and probably the untraditional rugby sense in terms of rugby in Leinster, the province that I was with, is essentially developed through the private school system, and I wasn't that at all. I was a club. My grandfather was president of the club and captain of the club, and lots of different family members involved, and all of us were. And I'm the only one now that lives out of all my cousins there that lives outside of Ireland. So most of them still live in my beautiful hometown, which I love going back to.
Yeah, that's amazing. So great to go back, right? I feel the same way going back to Cape Town, South Africa, where I grew up. But what a remarkable journey sport has taken you. And let's talk about that journey. So how did it come about? How did the move to the east coast of Canada come onto your radar?
Yeah, I'd say like out of the, I don't know, I'm not one of those Irish that have cousins everywhere, but we're quite close. And I'd say if someone said who would be the person that ends up working professionally in rugby, my name would probably be last on the list. Like I was always in like theatre and everything like that, and like I would whip. My dad gave me like kind of theatre and stuff, and my mom gave me sport. So like it was, which is the non-traditional sense of especially in Irish upbringing. But the two that my mom and dad were just so, and still are, they're just so amazing, and they were always just so supportive, and they didn't care about anything apart from like as long as we were happy. And I saw that actually in my dad. I remember coming home one day from work saying, I'm quitting my job. I want to go work for the homeless unit. We knew that this was going to be like not a big financial promotion here, but he just had this like incredible sense of helping people, and like seeing someone with two kids that's like wanting to just make a bit of a difference, and didn't matter about anything. But it, like, that move made him so happy that I feel like that's really rubbed off on myself. And I went to interview for a university course in Ireland, which was coaching and rugby, with a side of either communication or business. So it had me written all over it. And I went and I applied for it, but I realized that like I wasn't in that to play. And I had a feeling that this course was maybe designed to just get top level rugby players on, I think it's called Bird course here, on something that's a little bit easier to get through. Now it's ended up like being really good, but it was the first ever year of it, and I didn't get it. And I was kind of like, man, as an 18-year-old, I had a pretty good resume here, coaching and everything. So I was really surprised by that. But one person on the panel was from Leinster Rugby, who ended up phoning me saying, hey, would you interview for a job? I liked what you had. Are you interested in being part of the Leinster development department? And I was really lucky that I did that before getting a call that said, would you spend a few weeks in Nova Scotia, Canada? And I said, where is Nova Scotia, Canada? And that week turned into 3 months, turned into 8 to 10 years of affiliation, and it's probably still a place that I fly back to as there's so much I call family. All my friends are there, and I love that place.
Amazing.
Sounds like my trip to Saskatchewan for a weekend.
It happens, doesn't it?
It happens. That's one of my worries. I tell people when I present, whenever I get off a plane, and I've been to Winnipeg, Regina, Moose Jaw, Whitehorse, Yukon, and it was just in Prince George last weekend with Chrissy. I was sharing with Dallen, and every time I get off a plane, I'm like, I'm getting back on the plane this weekend. I promise you that. So no, love that journey, and the legacy you left and is still going strong in Nova Scotia is pretty special, Jack. And I actually felt it, the feedback I got about you before I even met you, I think a decade ago. So it's super special. From your coaching journey, where did it begin, and how did you fall in love with it? And what's your favorite thing about coaching now?
Uh, I probably fell into it just because I loved being involved. So like I just loved like whether it was using the video camera or helping hang up the jerseys, and I should say sweeping the sheds. But like realistically, it was kind of the just the energy around like a match day or training and being involved. And I was trying to like simulate like little things about why, because I've started asking this question to myself. I don't usually wait for you to ask it, Robin, but it was more like I remember being a kid and growing up, and I loved the idea of like backstage of anything. I was obsessed with like firefighting when I was like really little, and I loved the way they had all these. They had their meeting rooms and their kitchen and their gym and everything inside this building. It was the same with the rugby club. It was the same at backstage in a theater I was involved with. So I just loved that part of it. And for me, I wanted to be involved no matter what. Listen, I wasn't as talented as you two gents in terms of being on the field. Like I wasn't. I think I knew what to do, but like I just didn't. Like I was fine, but I didn't love it as much. And I think my idea of like I wanted to wear an international logo, I knew that really, really early on. I kind of got the feeling that well, I don't know if this will be for playing. So I kind of like what were the other X factors that I could bring into it. And for years I was looking around the world trying to find a coach that was like me, and I still haven't found it. And I had a mentor a while ago, and there was lots of support during the Olympic stuff of like getting help in terms of mentorship and stuff, which was so massive for me, probably bigger now that I reflect on it. But one of the things that I got was just like, is it so bad that you can just be yourself as opposed to striving to look like like someone like you're somebody else? And I think I started to embrace some of the things that I almost was embarrassed about coaching. So I'd be heavily dyslexic. Okay, that's one way of saying it. Why don't I say I'm an image-based person? I like to do things through imagery. So I've really started to celebrate that over the last number of years. And I suppose what's the favorite part about it is it's the backstage. It's still doing the stuff backstage, and a game day is still the performance, for want of a better phrase. Like it's still the opportunity of all those rehearsals or training sessions or drills that you do in any of those aspects that I've talked about. But when they run out, it doesn't matter if you're coaching U12, U18 internationally. All of us have the exact same feeling. It does not change. Your heart still races. You're still competitive. You're still unreasonable with certain decisions. Like, but it does not change. And that's my favorite thing about it is like, I have exactly the same feeling that Susan, who coaches the U12s on Sunday, has on game day. And I think that's the coolest part about it.
No, I love that. And I'll just say, I might have played internationally for Canada, but I wasn't the best player or the biggest player. So I find that often those that aren't the best are actually make the best coaches. And I feel that a lot of times world-class players, you don't see Michael Jordan or Wayne Gretzky having great coaching careers because I won't say things are easier for them, but when they're that great, that special, they don't understand how to get the whole team together and how to build players that don't have the skills to pay the bills. So that's a beautiful story. And then just another piece too, just as you started in your intro, you're talking about your mom was your field hockey coach, your grandfather was a president of the club. Like that's the stuff like right away that I'm like, okay, he's grown up watching, observing all this, and he's got the DNA of a builder and somebody that's grown up in a household of champions, and of course your selfless father.
Yeah, like, and I like it all. I think after major events, you've got more of a chance to realize and process what was the important things for you. And like I think you never know what you appreciate in that moment. But like walking down to the rugby club every single Saturday and every single Sunday, and even when I go home, I find out are the thirds playing, is the under 14 girls training, and you just go down and it is a club. like in the best way of it. And I'm really thankful of all the different people that challenged me, and like going back there after the Olympics was the coolest moment I've ever had, for sure.
Oh, that's amazing. It kind of reminds me going back to like my high school fields where I used to grow up throwing a rugby ball around, playing touch rugby with my friends. And you're right. If there's a game on, you doesn't matter who's playing. You're there to support the spirit and stuff like that you experience as a youngster. Iconic. Now, I want to talk a bit about transitioning from 15s coaching to sevens coaching. Tell us a bit about the adaptations. I know you're in 15s again, but just ahead of the Olympics type thing, when you took over the sevens program, what is that like, and what adaptations did you make changing the format of the game?
Yeah, like I mean, I wasn't a fan favorite when I got selected, and I was probably I would say a neutral selection, a very affordable selection, and honestly I think that's fair, and it's not. I'm not trying to self-deprecate, but I'm fairly aware of it. When the announcement went out on social media, I was probably sitting there going, "This is the coolest thing ever. I'm about to be announced as even in an interim capacity." But my God, it was like humbling. I certainly stopped looking at social media after that. And then when I got extended, more humbling. I remember saying to those wonderful parents of mine, maybe stay off social media when this is announced today. And somebody had gone to the great detail of putting my win record underneath the post, I think. And the great thing about my humbling friends is that even though I've said, no, I'm not on social media anymore, they'll screenshot and text me the worst comments because they think it's hilarious. But when I went in there, I think I went in there with a thing of like, okay, I'm probably here to maybe reset the environment a little bit. There was a lot of change, a lot of COVID. Obviously, the program itself went through a number of difficulties, but my job was almost to reset things. And I think the biggest error that I made was that I presumed that because I had the title, that everyone should give me a shot. But that I don't think that's right. So my biggest error early on was that I tried to make it a fun environment, but I shouldn't have. I should have said, "Hey, I'm going to make this fun, but this is my level of detail. This is where we're trying to get to." So I think I made that error. And like for me, what I loved about the change was like the skill was so important, and it made me really like. I thought skill and transit. I was doing transitions with the 15s anyway, but skill and transition was such a lovely focus point for me. And it was, I think I could give you a list, and this podcast is not long enough, about all the errors I made in those first few years, but I think like learning by doing was really what was great about it. And I think, as you both know, like being able for athletes to play both codes of the game, I think is nothing but beneficial. And it's okay in my mind to say it's also a necessity in North America. And I think because it's a way of being a professional. It's the way of training every day. It's the way of doing these things. So I think like although some countries have maybe turned away a little bit from sevens, which I know probably this is three people that wouldn't want that, but for us in North America, it's massively important because it really allows athletes to learn under the highest level of pressure while also developing some of those close skills, and that's what I loved about it. And I probably like sevens was always an interest of mine without being a specialty, and I got the chance for it to hopefully become an element of specialty in the years that I was there. But man, I loved every second of it. The hardest thing ever, but loved it.
Yeah, and a great point, Jack. They complement each other. A lot of people are like, oh, you got to choose, 15s or sevens, but we've seen so many countries use sevens to develop their players, and then they'll go through and play international 15s. It's just a great compliment. Yeah,
absolutely.
Jack, culturally, what did you try to create when you took over that program and ultimately helped you guys succeed as a group and be in a flow state going into the Paris Olympics?
What failed first? But like, the way you get a question, you always go to the fail thing. I remember when I was trying to do a reset, and I tried to do it like anytime someone would come into the environment, like we've drafted them. and trying to get this like kind of feeling of like a reset and congratulations, you've been drafted for these reasons. So I got everyone to arrive in, hold a jersey up, and then I had a hat where they would get drafted. I took pictures, and the athletes probably don't even remember this anymore. But it felt like a lead balloon. Like, I thought this idea was brilliant. I thought it was a great way to reset culturally and stuff. No, it wasn't great. And I remember just thinking this, that like, am I in too deep here? Like, I think I tried 5 or 6 themes and stuff like that to go through. I think the biggest, and Robin, you'll remember this time, but the like the year before the Olympics, I still don't think I'd fully got buy-in, nor do I think I deserved it. Like, I still think I hadn't led a particularly consistent targets, goals, and how we were going to do things. I think having the environment where Kev Rouet would come in and out, where Ian Monaghan was there in a really positive way, Jocelyn Barrio was there, Jen Joyce was absolutely massive in terms of the athletic performance. Like, I think we got tied together. But we had been to France, and it was like 14 months away from the Olympics, and we finished 10th. And we'd gone to France early, we'd done a camp, we had brought in 15s players like Sophie de Goody, like Fabiola Fortesia, Sabrina Poulain, like Justine Pelletier was there. Like, we brought in lots of players, huge, and then youngsters as well. And we finished 10th. And I was like, oh my God. So we put more money into this. We brought in all the best athletes that we felt from 15s and 7s. And then we brought in everyone together that summer, where we brought in Japan, Hong Kong, and Australia. And we played Australia 6 times. And we lost 5. We won 1 in Shawnigan. And afterwards, I remember one of the losses, Australia did top-ups, and we were dragging our athletes to the ice baths. Like they were so dead. And Australia were just running up and down, and it was just like this was a regular day. And that was the moment where I felt like we became aligned. Like, there was no inspirational comment from myself. There was nothing like that. It was just people were like, we've a lot of work to do. And we all just came together. We looked at our training week, some sacrifices. Could we add a couple more training sessions? And we all admitted that this was going to be a really hard year, but we still believed we had because one of those questions were, I remember an athlete saying to me, do you really think we can medal? Are we just here for 15s? And I remember that being such, like, I still believed it. But if I haven't convinced this athlete, or if the environment hasn't convinced this athlete that we can do it, then we're in serious trouble. And it was a brilliant conversation. I'm glad she felt safe to challenge me like that. But it was awful to hear. But after that, we put a year in of massive work. That wasn't sustainable. They couldn't have done it every year after either. But I'm just really proud that it kind of just felt like a group decided to change everything, not one person.
Well, just being a fly on the wall and being around, I was there when you guys played Australia, and I remember I was sitting on the hill, and one of your players went down the short side, threw the ball 10 feet forward, and I think it went off your head. And you were pretty fired up. And I think that same player is probably the reason why you won a silver medal. So you guys ended up getting it right. And, having coached myself at so many pinnacle events, you're always like, again, I love how you said, like, right away, I got to go to the things we didn't get right. But, being a fly on the wall in Paris as well, and watching you scratch your head as your team got a silver medal, and watching, the Australia bench, melt in the semifinal and their bronze medal game against the US. I feel like teams peak at different times, and sometimes less is more, and sometimes we get it right, sometimes we don't get it right. But I think you guys got it right in the end, and I feel these teams kind of overthink things sometimes and peaked a bit early. So you got them that 1 times out of 6 in Shawnigan, and you got them the 1 time probably that season when it mattered. So I think that's the biggest thing. I think you know, it's a 4-year cycle, and a lot of coaches don't make it to the 4th year, and both in 15s and 7s, I find these days. And, you know, it's just like a relationship. It goes through different stages before you find peace. And it's a shame that a lot of coaches don't get to that 4th year, because there's a lot of growing that happens in that 4th year, and a lot of learning, and there's a lot of pieces of the puzzle, and a lot of injuries, and a lot of ups and downs, and a lot of staff cohesion and all that. And you guys definitely got it right in the end, which was beautiful. You spoke about your staff on that journey. You and Jocelyn and Kevin and Ian and Richard and Jen and the rest of your medical staff too. What was that relationship like? You guys with the one squad, trying to manage, you know, all the schedules, all the other commitments of the athletes, and putting it all together. What was that journey like off the field as a staff?
Yeah, it's really hard. You're asking, and again, straight away it's the negative, but we were asking the athletes like to train 2 more times a week and not get paid more. Like you're going into any business person that goes in and go, hey, I want you to work harder. Like for what? Like so we had to understand what the ultimate bonuses were. Jen was amazing. Is an incredible athletic performance professional, and is someone that just like didn't know rugby that well, but like came in to learn it, and because we wanted to put rugby first, and did an incredible job. The you know, the thing that I got wrong again was just like we were asking the athletes to train so much, but then you've no idea how much more that puts on the staff. Like it puts so much more on the staff, and I was almost like putting the players first, and like there's, you guys know, like when you're head coach of the program, you're also dealing with budget stuff, and you're dealing with like media stuff, and you're dealing with kit order, and you're dealing with all this sort of stuff. Like there's just so much random stuff that just comes on your plate, and I was trying to probably protect the staff a bit, and rather than delegating in a proper way. So I think we started to get that right, but I think there was like, I used to send emails on a Sunday, because that's what made me feel great on a Monday. If I could just clear this, I would feel great on a Sunday evening when you're doing your meal prep or whatever. And I didn't realize that at the time, me sending emails on a Sunday actually led to other staff members having anxiety, because like they're like, okay, the head coach is now emailing, God, we better go. And I was like, man, that totally makes sense. So then we're like, came up with this thing like, okay, like on a Sunday, I'm always going to send emails. I'm not going to WhatsApp you guys. So like that was like the thing that we were able to get out of it. And that's like one little point that was really, really important going into it, is like, we can't wait 8 weeks of an issue bubbling. If there's something that's like really, and some of this, it took me way too long to realize, but I had to, my job is to make sure that we try to adapt, like, because it's still, I didn't want to sacrifice. I love sending emails on a Sunday because it made me feel better. So I didn't want to change that. I didn't want to say, no, okay, I'll go in at 5 a.m. on a Monday morning. Like, I didn't want that at all. So like, coming up with what were the solutions for us. But again, like, we were all jaded by the end of it. But I'm just really, and I think that was the big thing, is when we got to the Olympics, I wanted to make sure that we enjoyed it. Like, okay, and we did a pre-mortem in terms of like, okay, if we don't win a medal, why didn't we? And I think when we did that, and when we went around the room, I thought it put us into, you mentioned a flow state, Robin, but like I think it put us into a really nice mindset, that it's like, okay, we've actually done a lot of good stuff here. And that was a really nice thing. And I remember one athlete coming to me like freaking out the week of the Olympics, saying like this is so much pressure, I don't know what we're doing. And my line was kind of like, what's the worst thing that can happen? And okay, remove injuries, but what is the worst thing that can happen? And it was like, we come 12th. And I said, yeah, and that's probably my fault. It's not going to say your name, you're Grant, like, and I'm leaving, so like they'll just say good riddance, like it'll be fine. But the other thing that we said was like the worst thing that can happen right now is on Sunday, or sorry, or let's say you're at a dinner party in 30 years' time, someone is going to describe you as an Olympian. Oh, did you know that person is an Olympian? And that to me is still what an incredible accolade. So no matter if you come 12th, they're not going to lead with, did you know they came last at the Olympics? What they're going to lead with was, did you know that they were an Olympian? And I think once we started saying those things out loud and preparing for, not just in that case, but in all cases, like, what's the worst thing that can happen here? Okay. Like, that's still okay. I think it just allowed a bit of a breath of fresh air out. But we had to make a decision once we qualified. Did we want to be Olympians, or did we want to try and be Olympic champions? And we said Olympic champions, and we failed. But it's like one of the best failures I've ever had.
That's amazing. That's so well said. And you're right. I love the fact also when you ask people who have a lot of fears or on anything, what's the worst that can happen? And a lot of times people are like, oh, I suppose the worst that can happen is not bad, but the best that can happen is remarkable. So, but I want to touch on that Olympic experience. So talk a little bit about the off-field experience, particularly for those that have never been to Olympic Games. What was Paris like, when you weren't training and preparing for your games?
It's like, I'm Irish, which means we don't usually we're like, the Olympics is fun, but like it wasn't really, as I was growing up in coaching, that I had a target to be an Olympic coach. So I think it allowed me to almost enjoy it that little bit more. I was really like, my uncle cycled for Ireland in an Olympic game, so like that was like and I remember seeing his like Olympic jacket. Like, and there was a painting of his Olympic experience, and I remember just going like, how cool is this? And I actually texted him after and just was like, this is unbelievable. And he goes, and he was Montreal, and so like those things were really, really special. Like for me, when we went in, we were in Auxerre, a tiny little town outside of France, that realistically, when towns were trying to get Olympic teams to come in, again, we had finished 10th. We hadn't qualified for the Olympics when we had to pick a spot. And we went to visit Auxerre, who just showed us that they wanted to be like a town for us. They wanted to feel some form of relationship with the games. So we went there, and they had like Canada like painted on in the clubhouse. They had Canada flags. We had open sessions with so many people there, and they hosted us so well, and it was so lovely. But we, the Olympics very particular, we weren't allowed to wear our Olympic kit there, so it still felt like that little bit separate. But it was really, really beneficial. We drove up to Marcoussis to play 2 games against France, which would and we knew that if things worked out, both France and us knew that we're more than likely playing each other in a knockout stage. So like that was like almost, but no one wanted to play us contact, and we both wanted contact. So we had that, and yeah, it was a risk, but like we wanted to be battle ready. So then when we went we actually ended up going into the village. We went to Kev Rouet's mum and dad's house, like that, and that's where we like got changed into our Olympic kit for like the second time. And then you go into the village, and you're just like, it's like walking into a theme park, and it was just like, oh my God. And you almost have to allow ourselves and the athletes time to just, it's like probably walking onto a cruise ship for the first time, where you're looking around going like, okay, where is everything? And I remember we were eating really late, and there was like no food left, and I was sitting there going, oh my God. But then you see Simone Biles walk by, who also has no food left. So you're kind of like, okay, this is like neutralized. This is fine. It's not us. Like, it's not like someone can't sit there and go, someone at Rugby Canada let this like, this is just what it is. And you get into your habit, and the athletes get the phone and the suitcases and all this sort of stuff. And like, how can you not be just like totally enamored by it? But early on, again, we remind ourselves about, do we want to be Olympians or Olympic champions? And for that day, just be Olympians. Just enjoy that part of it. And then let's get to training, because Jen Joyce gave us fantastic advice, which was, and she was a high level hammer thrower and been to multi-sport games herself. And her thing was, we shouldn't be in the village for that long. And I was sitting there going, what do you mean? Like, let's go there, because the sleeping's not as good as it would be anywhere else. Like the food mightn't be as good. But I think through her leadership and planning, like we allowed ourselves to take that moment to realize what was going on. And it was funny because the athletes, when Simone walked by, the athletes were just like, and that was so noticeable. And like for me, I was kind of like, oh, that's really cool for them. And for some reason, like, I saw like Nadal, and that was the moment that I went, how am I in the same area that Nadal is in? And that was probably the moment that I was like, man, this is so much bigger than competition. Like, it's just that one moment just trips. Yeah.
Remarkable.
Yeah, multi-sport games, it's like you hope most of your athletes go to well, I'll say from BC, go to a BC Summer Games, and then they go to a Canada Games and all the rest of it. I went to Commonwealth Games, same one as Jen, and out of everybody in that team, Jack, I was the last guy that probably should have been there. But I remember just looking around. We played in front of 70,000 people, opening ceremonies, 90,000 people, the Queen, and then you have to play the next day. Like, it's always great. So then going into the Youth Commonwealth Games a decade ago, and these boys are just like, we're in a resort in the Bahamas with a bunch of Canadian kids burning their faces off. And we had Andy Friend on, the Australia coach, years ago from the 2016 Olympics. And, it's just a distraction overload. Like, it's just a distraction overload. So trying to let them enjoy the experience, because this is the best week of their life or the best 2 weeks of their life. They worked their whole life to get there. But then they're also the star of the show, and that's the balance. So I loved your theme of, are we here to be an Olympian or here to be a champion, and reminding that. And it's always a balance. Talk to us about the semifinal clash with Australia. Obviously backing up a year from what you took away hosting them at Shawnigan on your terms, and how did that game unfold for you and your team?
Oh yeah, going 2 tries down in the first half. It's exactly how I wrote it up. It's funny because we had an incredible emotional game the night before, where our theme was, we're trying to spoil the party, which was playing against France in France. And I still have goosebumps of because this is 75,000 people that are educated rugby fans that are watching it, and there is no alcohol available. So this is an unbelievable event, which 70,000 people want to watch it, and it, and of course our USA referee was in the middle, Cat's in the middle, and suddenly every call is being scrutinized, and there weren't a lot of people up for us. So when I remember them running out, and it was Shaleya Venezuela's first time running out with the group, because we'd had a couple of injuries, and the energy that they had was unbelievable. I remember turning to Joss going because you guys know in sevens you usually run out together, but it was separate at the Olympics. So when our group ran out, they were so fired up and pumped. But I remember turning to Joss, kind of going that's either going to be genius or they weren't focused. That's the way people will see that. But that was, for me, it was perfect because it was just them. And the next day again, we'd spoiled the party, and now we're playing Australia, and our whole thing was, we can win a medal right now. We can win an Olympic medal right now. And we had played Australia twice that season, and we'd lost one, and we'd won one in Vancouver. So we'd almost stayed away from them. And then, in seven, especially this year, you usually play against the same teams over and over again, but we hadn't really. So for me, it was we were 1-1 with this group, and we played them in Perth, and we played them in Vancouver, and I thought we'd done really well. So we kind of had nothing to lose, and I remember watching them warm up, and they were doing maul defense. And I was just like, oh, that's great. Like, because we had been mauling. It was almost became a bit of an almost level of humor that we mauled against certain teams, and so we went in. I thought we had tactically hinted at a few things of how we score against this group, but for us, we always needed like an X factor, and Charlie Williams, who had been walking around in a boot between games, got a poach just before half time. And went or tapped a penalty just before half time and ran the field. And that was like that moment of just like everything. And it was a way of like, I think Caroline gets the poach and then she taps it and scores. And suddenly like you're back in this game, one that felt incredibly uncomfortable. And then I just thought we controlled the ball so well in that second half that once that level of doubt creeps in, then they made like one or two uncharacteristic errors, but I just felt we were so confident, and we'd kind of had this play written up that if we had a line out in the corner, that we would go for a maul, rip it out, Florence would bang it in, and then we'd move it quickly to Charity or Asia, and we thought we'd be able to suck in and have speed of ball to move forward. But we always talk about, and this is part of my philosophy with coaching, is like anything that you ride up always has to have an exception. So in semi-final of the Olympic Games, instead of crashing it in like we spoke about, Florence decides to throw a manky offload, which was brilliant because two defenders came in. She said, I don't need a ruck. I'm just going to offload the ball. Ball hits the ground. Chloe passed it out and there's a try scored. And it was one of those things of like, that's great because we had written up something that we thought was going to score. You saw something different and we did score. And that was like, that to me was like such a really happy moment, I think, because it people were empowered to do it while still like understanding what they were trying to do. So yeah, and then you the final whistle goes and we were up by 2 scores and we were having penalties, calling scrums. It felt like a 15 test match, and suddenly the final whistle goes and these athletes' lives are changed. And that is what it is. Like their lives are changed. They have guaranteed contracts, and they have money coming in from the COC because of their success. And it was just to bottle that up would be incredible. But it was amazing. And I always said while I was taking this job was, as long as I can walk down the street after in 10 years time, look across and see one of the athletes and both of us are interested in chatting to each other, I think we've done an okay job, and now you get to do it while also like celebrating an incredible life milestone.
That's beautiful, and appreciate the insights and the impact and ripple you're talking about from that success. Being a week ago with Chrissy Skerfield in a classroom with young kids from rural Canada holding her medal. Well, to be fair, of course, Chrissy forgot her medal, so we had to bring Chris's medal in good form. But yeah, just seeing Chrissy impact kids' lives, like probably about 300 kids' lives, 400 kids' lives last week. And yeah, just the impact goes on and on and on. And then now to this day, like you guys, all I said when you guys wanted to Carissa's mom, who I was sitting with, is this group has just made my job easier as far as trying to get kids in Canada to pick up a ball and play. Just wanted to touch on the France game. A year before, I was at the Men's World Cup bronze game and final. South Africa and New Zealand. We know who Dallen was cheering for. Now, being in that stadium, sold out, versus the women day one pool games a year later on a Sunday, Monday, Tuesdays when the women played. The men played on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the men's sevens Olympics. The men's sevens finishes. The women kick off on the 3 worst days of the week, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. You could hear the stadium, because you had to walk in miles and miles and miles. You could hear the stadium erupting before you even got to the stadium. I've never experienced anything in all my years as an athlete, as a coach, or a super fan. Going fast forward to that France game, I wore my Commonwealth Games opening jacket that had a 70s theme, which Doesn't wear well now because people think I played in the 70s. But anyhow, I was sweating to death in this thing. I had a fever. I think it was 40 degrees, and I was the only Canadian amongst a bunch of Frenchmen. And I stood up the whole game, and the whole game by myself, I have a Frenchman pushing me in the back, Jack, smacking me in the back to sit down when everybody else was standing up, and I just ignored him. Thank God you guys won. Anyway, I didn't react to it. I definitely wanted to turn around and give him a Canadian handshake, but I walked up the stairs, and I stopped when I was halfway up the stairs, and I look back at this guy, and he just nods his head in defeat and waves at me, and I walk on. So thank you for that moment.
Like it was, and there when Chloe Daniels scored in that moment, the camera went straight away, and Ricky Swannell, I think, is commentating, and it went straight to a group of people wearing Canada shirts, of which it was my dad, and the camera just spotted him straight when Chloe scored, and my dad is like this, and his eyes are wide open. It's an incredible photograph. I'll make sure I send it on to you guys. But the photo's unbelievable. It has the score, the time, and just my dad like this, like just saying like, and then it goes straight to me trying to make subs and move people around in very different emotions. But like it was like those moments are incredible, and like you then when you watch the athletes walking onto the podium, and I stood with my now colleague Emily Boywell, who was directly beside me, who had her first World Series stop the exact same day that I did. We were both named interim at the time, and now we're both standing there just like, this is unbelievable. And like realistically, we knew that it was likely going to be, the odds are that it's, if you're here, I ain't here. So like for North America to have like both of us standing there together and just going like, man, how cool is this? And you are just like, it's all about the athletes as it should be, but you have like, and you almost feel rude, but you have the best seat in the house where you're just standing there watching these athletes walk onto a podium. And the two of us were just, and Zach was there as well, and Josh was there as well. And it was just like, we just got to be fans in that exact moment. And it was it'll be I remember just thinking to myself, I've got to get these games on a hard drive just so they never delete for me. But it was just some incredible memories, and you don't talk about it every day. And like, so this is like, it's amazing to even just remember these things, you know.
That's truly amazing. I will say that. And the fact that Robin was there, obviously, he looks good for somebody that's 60 years old right now. So that's impressive. But I know he was messaging me from the Olympics saying, oh my goodness, you're watching this. And I absolutely was. And the fact that you said, of course, you know, look, New Zealand, Australia, generally on the Sevens World Series face each other most times. But the fact that your team, Canada, USA, on the podium, truly remarkable thing. I just want to touch on, so talk us a little bit about that final. I know obviously things didn't go according to plan, but like the crowd behind your team and stuff like that, the support you received from back home, women's rugby absolutely exploded. We obviously seen the likes of Alona Mar since then, but what a great moment for women's sport, right?
Yeah, like again, I think the biggest moment was when we ran out against Fiji on that opening day, and every seat was full, and I was like, this is. Because we had been used to it, and you guys know more than anyone, but we'd been used to, like, if you're playing early, it's pretty much an empty stadium. And when we had played a year before in France for ninth place, and we lost to Spain, there weren't a lot of people there on that final day morning. So when we were there playing against Fiji, and the crowd, and it was one of the longest ball in plays, the opening play, we had prepared so much for like what is the ultimate ball and play time, and it almost doubled it. I think it was dreadful. I remember looking at Chrissy almost apologizing, saying like, I'm sorry, I thought, like, I never thought it would be that. But it was one of those things where the as soon as the teams ran out, the noise was exceptional, and it did not stop. Like, it didn't stop. So by the time that final came on, and I actually think we had gained a lot of respect from the French. I think we gained elements of respect from a lot of opposition, and then of course, like, there's the people that wanted New Zealand to win, and then there's the people that supported the underdog, of which we very much were. We'd already lost to New Zealand in the exact same pool stages, but I actually didn't think the scoreline was actually really tough, but I actually didn't think we played that poorly. So it's kind of one of those things, in a sevens game, it's a domino. Sometimes that can happen, and everything they touched usually ended up in a try, and we were just a little bit off it. So I don't think we needed to change much, but we were walking out. They got to sing the anthem, which we hadn't done all year. So that was remarkable because it was a new feeling, and the staff got to look at them while the anthem was being sung, and then we played the game and had a tough start, but a really good chunk in the middle that was good, and we'd written up a couple of things that we felt like we could attack them, and we just didn't execute it to the best of our abilities. I would have loved to have taken a few things back and made some subs at different times and all that sort of stuff. But like our whole thing was like, we are either winning a gold medal today or we're winning a silver. But we perform in the final. And that was something that we wanted to make sure we spoke about. Like we did, it was my last warm up, and one of the athletes was like, "Oh, let's do that stupid drill that you like us to do. Like, come on!" Like, and that was before the Olympic final. And we came into the circle, and usually, we came into the circle just before we started warm up, and we were like, "All right, welcome to the Olympic final." And everybody and I remember one of the staff members just bursting laughing because it was just like we had talked about it all the time, and suddenly you were there, and it was just such a light thing. It was just so like, oh yeah, of course we are. That's what we said we were trying to do. So then when the final whistle went, obviously it was devastating because we did have an opportunity to win it. But I think like we weren't favourites. We wanted to make sure it was a proper final. I definitely I'd love a few personal decisions back, but at the end of the day, this is the Olympic Games, and everyone's target is to get a medal, and we very quickly, I think, had the opportunity to just go, we've won a medal, and because it's so structured that like you have a press conference right now, you have to get into your podium outfits right now. Like it almost just, you don't have time to actually sit and wallow about losing a game. You actually just kind of have to, which I think is great, because you kind of just get to get into your podium outfit, and you only get to wear that podium outfit if you're on the podium. And suddenly then you get to walk out, and at the start of the competition, Dallen, there wasn't a lot of people that wanted to interview myself, and suddenly you beat France and there's more people, and now you're going into press conferences because you've won a medal, and those things really just like allowed you to appreciate the enormity of the accomplishment. And then what was really rugby was like at the end, all the teams sat back and watched the haka be done by the Olympic gold medalists. And like I love our sport. I like, there's definitely times where is the hack an advantage and all that sort of stuff, and there's loads of debates there, and I won't get into any opinions on it. But we had lost the gold medal. New Zealand had won the gold medal, or we'd won the silver rather. And all teams just kind of sat there and watched the haka, and then everybody got in together all the athletes got together for one big photo. And I was just like, to go back to the original, like 70,000 people, Olympic medals here in Paris. The next one is in North America in LA. Like what? And for me, I was just like, this could be enormous. To go back to what Robin said, was like, you're now not explaining the game as much. You're now like you're stating the game, and people at least know what it is, and that's game changing.
No, it really is, Jack. It's I just love the story in the background, the insight you're providing us, which is so cool to live it through you. I've got goosebumps when you're talking about it. It's truly remarkable, Okay, so let's move then to 15s. Okay, so then how do things unfold that you come to the USA and now you're leading the women's 15s programs in 2026?
I will be honest, the response on Instagram was better than when I got the Canada job. So I still banned the family from looking at it, and then my brother said it's actually not that bad. Yeah, like I knew that I was really happy where the sevens was. I'd been with Rugby Canada for about 10 years. Not because I hadn't had a long. I had one cycle with the sevens, but I'd been doing the 15s before and underage before that. So 10 years is quite a long time in my mind. I know it's not as long as the 70-year-old and Robin and stuff, but we were like, I thought it was right for me to change, and I will be honest. I also felt I had so much I needed to develop as well. So because I think when I'd left, there was like people were kind of like, "That's a shock. Like this is probably the best job you're ever gonna get, Jack. Like, do you really want to leave?" And I was like, "No, no, no. I just think I needed it." And I went to the University of Ottawa, and I don't regret it whatsoever. My only regret was that I couldn't finish what I was excited to do. And there's a good reason for that. Like I loved the city of Ottawa and Danica Smith and the rugby program there and all the assistant coaches, and Pat Thompson has become such a close friend of mine who's an assistant there. Um it was an incredible experience, and I improved my coaching, no doubt. Like I had more time to, I think, deliver to it. But the shortness of the season was something that was like, it was tough for me because they have great resources. I was well paid for that job, and I felt like the competitive itch wasn't being scratched as much as I want. And when I watched the Women's World Cup, I had no job. I was supporting obviously the Canadian team. I was very interested to see what other teams were going to do, but it was the first time I felt that women's 15s rugby was mainstream. I thought the production value was unbelievable. The crowds were amazing. The quality of competition was amazing. And this was the thing that really got me was prior, halftime, and post. We weren't just celebrating the occasion in women's rugby. We were actually tactically complimenting or challenging coaches, athletes, teams. And I was just like, this is real now. Like, it is not just, isn't this great? We've sold this amount of tickets, which I'm not trying to be facetious there, but that is because it's grown so quickly. That is the thing we've celebrated more than anything else. And I remember watching that World Cup going, oh my God, I would love to be back involved here. And to be honest, there's probably not. I was enjoying Ottawa. Like it was an important thing. I knew that I was struggling moving from the traveling and the lifestyle to live in, and Ottawa in the winter is cold enough. So it was one of those things. I knew I was struggling a bit, but I was enjoying coaching, and I loved my boss, as I said. So it would have had to have been a pretty big job. And for me, like the Eagles job was just such an attraction. Like it is, like we can go through all the aspects of why, but for me, like it was the easiest yes, I think, once I thought about it and once the opportunity came. I'd say there was unbelievable candidates that applied for this job, and again trying to figure out why might I be a decent option. But I'm a sort of guy that goes 100% into something. And it's funny because I found a lot of the Canadian athletes and staff to kind of tell them, like, I've decided to accept this job. And I was really nervous about doing that because you're jumping across, and obviously, but I think anyone that knew me as a person and that actually cares about rugby, like, Kev is so transactional. Kev laughed, said, "I knew you'd be bored," and then basically goes, "Okay, good, you're in USA. Good, we'll do things." And it was straight away so transactional. And I was sitting there going, "Kev, I've something to tell you." But again, like when I talked to Joss or Jen or Ian, or the athletes, like it was kind of like, "Oh, that's a good move for you." And I really appreciated the support. And some athletes are still finding it hard, like, but for me, this is a bit of a blank canvas. There's so much rugby that happens in the States. Oh my God. Every weekend there's a different competition that I'd love to be at. And there's just a energy of excitement about the game. I think Alona's been a big part of it. The women's sevens medal, it was such a big part of it. But there is a huge eagerness here to not just be at the events again, to actually try and start challenging by the time a home World Cup comes around, which will come around sooner rather than later.
Love that, Jack. And yeah, excited for you. It's, when you're away on tour, you can't wait to get home. You get home for a few weeks, you start scratching your head, going, I want that challenge. As you begin your second major journey at the world stage coaching, how has the previous experience, pressure, challenges, successes shaped you as a coach? Which you started everything with a negative, as Darcy would say, a growth opportunity. And now you're in a position, still as a young man, as you look at this approach wide open.
I think I'm more sure of who I am. I think I'm more understanding of what I don't have, and not, rather than being embarrassed about it, just like get people who are good at that. And I think I was embarrassed about it for a number of years, so I just wanted to be good so much. And like, I think the time in Ottawa was a great way to just, like, it's not the end of the world. This is a job, and sometimes you're greeted with such negativity because it's other people's hobby. And I am so fortunate that I get to work in my hobby. But my hobby is also watching rugby. So like last weekend, someone's like, "Oh, what are you up to this weekend?" "Well, I'm getting up early to watch the Women's Six Nations." "Oh, for research." Well, sure. But I also did that when I was in Ottawa. Like I enjoy it. Leinster in the Champions Cup final next week. Like, I'm really excited to watch that. Like, it's certainly my hobby. I think I'm a lot more relaxed. That's for sure. Like I know what I get excited for, and I know that it can be done, and I know that I was not perfect in the build up to Paris, but I obviously did a few things right. And I'd rather look at, and it's funny, it's ironic because I have started everything here with a negative, but because I've gotten better from it. And right now in this journey, like, I've already made loads of errors, but I'm also really excited about the positives that we showed in our first tournament. I'm really excited about some of the training behaviors that the athletes have produced already. And I also, like, we were well beaten by Canada, and that's kind of where we're at. Like, we struggled in certain aspects of the game, which that's okay. Like okay, that is an aspect. Scrum is an aspect where we wanted to work on. We brought in some good people to help us, but like the Australia game was amazing because it was delayed for so many hours. We're on hurricane watch. We're like, alarms are going off. Like, Kansas was just amazing, but I thought, like, my press conference started at 2 a.m. The fans that had bought tickets were still out there doing signatures at midnight at 1 o'clock, and it was one of the only test matches that started on one day and finished on another. So, like, it's an incredible story. But I loved the way how adaptable everybody was, and for me, that is massive in sport. It's massive in women's rugby, because although we are striving to be the best it can be, there's still going, when we play in South Africa, we're going to be based in Stellenbosch. We're going to be flying for test matches in and out. That's not preparing you for a World Cup, but it's very much great challenges, and also what an amazing thing to be playing in South Africa. So, like, I think my biggest thing right now is we have the haves and the have-nots, and let's focus on the haves. And in USA, there is a lot of haves, and let's celebrate that, as opposed to trying to fix every problem.
Lovely. Well, I'm excited to see it unfold. And then I remember what it was like for me coaching against Canada for the first time in Hong Kong. I was also on the receiving end. But how was it to play against Canada for the first time, and then connect with your good friend Kevin and other colleagues?
Yeah, I'll it's funny because it's such a strange thing when you move across, because I'm very proud of my home base in Nova Scotia. I'm very proud of my connection with Rugby Canada. I'm very proud of and thankful for the opportunities that Rugby Canada gave me, whether it was because I was affordable or because I did a good job in certain aspects. So I'll never go through that. But professional sport is so small, as you guys know. Like, so an opportunity doesn't come up all this time, but I'm so excited and invested in what this is. I'm the first person to know that Canada are a really, really good side. I thought we challenged them more in other aspects, but I also think that we played tried some different things that Canada had to prepare for differently, which I think is also a positive thing. It's always great to connect with former colleagues and friends. And although Kev, I think, was quoted to say he's not my friend anymore, I hope that was a jest, Kev, right? But it was lovely to do it. Again, we want to challenge him in a different way, and that will be a really good temperature check along this. We'll play them every year, and it'll, because of I know the quality that is coming up. I know the quality coach that Kev is. I think it'll always be a really good temperature check of exactly where we are, which is great. And we've a lot of age grade stuff coming down the path, and there'll be a lot of connections between Canada and the US. And I think all of us would agree that the more playing opportunities to play across the border, the better it'll be. So I'm looking forward to more of those.
Well, you're the right coach to lead this program. You understand, although USA is a different beast, you understand the landscape in North America, which is very vast and solution orientated, empowering and connecting, which, starting in a place like Nova Scotia, in a cold part of the world, a remote part of the world. Now you're in sunny California, and you've done all the slogging, and you get people on board. I guess I would just say, just to circle up to your second round at this stage is being relaxed. Dallen, I got a text message from Jack, I think 2 hours before his test match a few weeks ago, just sending a lovely note through from a family he reconnected with, I think on the East Coast. And I was in Prince Rupert on a fishing boat catching a salmon, and I looked at my phone, and I'm like, I think he's coaching in 2 hours, the test match. So, sending lovely notes through all the way back to the west coast of Canada while he's in the middle of a test match. So I just appreciate you, and I wish you well in your journey.
And that probably summarizes it quite well, to be honest, because when you'd lost, you'd be so like, woe is me and everything like that. And listen, I don't like losing, and nor do I want to, but like, I've got to be more planned. I always knew that, and this is an incredible opportunity, and I was so thankful that the Eagles athletes were so open to, it's not just me, but like to different things and trying different things, and I loved it. And like a lot of people come over to me after the Canada game, or I got a few of those dreadful texts. Now luckily my numbers changed, which, don't get me started, I didn't mean to do it, but I've changed my number now and no one can contact me, but I got a few of those texts going, hope you're okay, after the Canada game. And I was a bit like, I'm fine. like, because like I loved every second of it. Like, I loved being on tour. I was that level of tired that you only get when you're trying to think for everybody and organize different things. But it was like, it was amazing. And as you said, Robin, as soon as you get back for a couple of days, you're ready to go again. And I'm so thankful that I've been given this opportunity. And if I'm removed, I hope it's just because I'm maybe tactically not good enough. But I want this to do well, and I've been offered the contract until the next World Cup. But both of us have said, like, if this gone well, this is for hopefully 2 World Cups, and I'm more than willing to hopefully continue to develop to be good enough for that. But it's been an amazing start, and I'm so happy that I feel like I'm back to where I want to be, and I feel like I'm back to myself, to be honest, because of the chance to put 24 hours a day into this thing, and into rugby, and the connection with yourself, Robin, of that text. Like, every single person on that Olympic team had their own story, and you could have done a documentary on every single one of them, and every single person here across the States. It's so non-traditional. We don't have the exact pathway of how do I become an Eagle. I don't know, because there's not a one fits all. For me, I'd rather go, well, where are you now? Okay, this is the way that you could become an Eagle. And I just want to be really, really open-minded about where everybody comes from, and that was part of the reason. Is like, the first thing I asked a lot of the Eagles was like, who's your favorite ever coach? And my next thing was, go and text them. Like, let's reconnect, because it's it's such a if Robin, I know you had such pride in the athletes that ended up starting in your academy and then suddenly having a medal around their neck. Like, what an amazing feeling. Like, I have the same feeling about a player that will win their first cap. Like, there was a player that played against USA that won their first cap that I coached a few months beforehand in university, and I was like, man, that's cool. And it's still, that feeling is still cool. But like, if
Aurora?
Yeah. If USA is going to climb up the ladder here, it's not about one person at the top. It's about every single person buying into this Eagles team being USA's team. And there's a bit of work to go in there, but there's so many good people that are doing really, really good stuff, and there's so much rugby. And I suppose my job is to almost facilitate how we do those things with putting in some tactics and skills along the way.
Yeah, Jack, that's so well said. It is an interesting landscape. I remember coming here 20 years ago. I didn't know much about rugby in North America. Didn't really know there was, the game was played so around the country. And yeah, it's been an eye-opener and amazing. The community is so strong behind it. So I want to ask you, last couple of quick ones. What are your goals for the USA Women's 15s programs as you prepare now for the World Cup in 2029 in Australia?
Yeah, we've got to create depth. So I think when we look at USA teams and even ones you've played on, we're very reliant on personalities and individual player qualities, and we need to be able to, in 3 years' time, if an injury, touch wood, doesn't happen, but if an injury happens, that we're prepared that we can still be successful. And that was like, I think we could pick the Olympics there and certain individuals that weren't available for the whole thing. Like, it's a very similar mindset. To do that, we've got to build some opportunities to become excellent, which means pressurized situations. No one is benefited by losing a game by 60 or by winning a game by 60. It's still great to play, but we need close competition. For us to do that, to build depth chart, we need to be able to use Falcon tours, which we have this year, which I'm really excited about. Really be with under 20s and 21s, be deliberate with them to chat about. I don't want there to be, this is Jack's style of play, but we need some things to be constant. So couldn't we just lead through principles, so that, like, if Jack is gone, like, because that's what sport is like, that the age grades are not just starting at the very beginning, that, like, if it's principles, that can still be developed in my mind. And we have to be okay going, like, into a test match and be devastated for losing. That is not, like, if you're playing high performance sport, if we're contracted, and that's one of our targets, is to contract these athletes for longer and longer every year. And there's a lot of good people doing work to try and do that. But we also, with contracted athletes, we also want to win or show growth on field. And that's going to be massive. We capped a lot of players in Pac 4, some of which were coming from the university setup. There is a lot of have-nots in that domestically, but there's also a lot of haves. So we just need to bridge that gap. When players coming from France and England, there's a lot of haves, but there's also a few have-nots. And not just saying that, like, if you're in one place, you are totally fine. We have to take people pretty individual. And then by the time we get to the World Cup, we don't want to end after 3 games. Like, we are setting ourselves targets that in 3 years' time we are in the quarterfinals of the Rugby World Cup. And I know that might sound like not like the biggest target, but for us, countries are getting better, they're investing more money, and we didn't get there. So we want to get there, and in 8 years' time, why can't we finish top 5? Like why can't we get to that semi-final? It's going to take a lot. We've got to discover athletes, we've got to develop athletes, and we've got to really challenge it. But our targets are pretty big, and if we can be disappointed of not getting to a semi-final at that home World Cup, I think that should be the feeling at that stage.
Yeah, amazing goals, as you said, as you build towards that, which is so exciting. Okay, final one for you. We've got so many young coaches as well, who are finding the game, that love the sport. What advice would you give for them, given your experience in the last few decades?
First of all, be comfortable with the X factors you have in your personality. I'm an imagery guy. I like to tell a story. Clearly, I've probably made this really long, but it's one of those things that I used to be embarrassed by that because I wasn't like my dyslexia led to me not being. I felt really terrible when all my colleagues could read a book and I was like, oh, I'm watching like YouTube. That's okay. Like get things out of it. Be okay with who you are. When you get your first polo shirt, you don't know everything. Be okay with that. Like learn from everyone, be open to it, and be okay saying like, hey, I actually don't have the answer for that. Because I think at times when you feel so vulnerable, you go into defense and then suddenly maybe we're not giving the clarity that the athlete needs, and being really open to the level of knowledge that these athletes have, because they mightn't have played rugby for a number of years, but they might have played hockey or soccer or football, and everything brings an X factor. And then just go learning from everybody. You can learn from everybody, and I could sit here for another hour and list the little things that I've stolen from everybody. So be really open to it, and if it ever becomes a pursuit of finances, we've lost it. I am really lucky that I've got to work professionally, but like at the end of the day, if I was offered this to be full-time coach for a part-time salary, I probably won't tell USA Rugby this, but I probably would have taken it still. Like, because it's the goal first was the thing that I wanted. And I think at times, sometimes like you see people going, well, how much do I get for that? Like, you lose a bit of energy. And I'm not saying that we downgrade the level of commitment, but you want the target, or you want the challenge first, and then everything else will come second if it works out for you and your family.
Yeah, that's amazing, Jack. Just so nice to hear the background, of you growing up and all the way in your coaching journey. It's been phenomenal seeing you on the big screen and obviously, calling some of your team's action. Very excited to see what this next chapter look like. We're going to see you in sunny San Diego for pickleball soon. But we really appreciate your time, your energy, your effort, and it's amazing what you're doing with rugby in North America.
Thanks, guys, and thanks for growing the game.
Bloody star. Love it. Love it. Now, Jack, before we let you go, do you mind saying I'm Jack Hanratty and you're listening to the Rugby Hive?
I'm Jack Hanratty and you're listening to the Rugby Hive.
Beautiful voice too. Beautiful voice.
Sounds better in Irish. Come on.
I had this radio show on a Friday night, which was this rugby radio show.
Yeah.
And it was like, so I did it for Leinster because they wanted a little bit more. We had this partner Dublin radio station, 98 FM. So I had this tagline.
Yeah.
Which was, and I have it straight away. So I'll give you the tagline. This is Jack Hanratty for Leinster Rugby's official radio supporter, 98 FM. And then it moved to, this is Jack in the Pack for Leinster Rugby's official. So Jack in the Pack became the thing, which was ironic. So I ended up doing like a radio reporting from like two of the Leinster Heineken Cups and stuff like that, and it was the year before I moved to Canada, and I loved it because we used to call it games. All that sort of stuff. So like that, I feel like that's why if you give me a chance to do this, I talk shit for hours.
No. Yeah.
Jack, you've given him too much ammunition for next time he commentates you. I mean, Jack in the Pack the whole time. So.
I love it. I think it's brilliant. Yeah, I know. It's so good. Okay.
It was really funny. And like I had this, my big moment was Brian O'Driscoll was planning to retire, and Leinster just won the Heineken Cup, and now we were playing against the Ospreys at home in the RDS, and this was the week after the Heineken Cup. I was holding the Heineken Cup, and my job was, when they won, I run over, give it to Brian O'Driscoll, and then I interview him live on the thing for the radio and for the stadium. And I was like obviously he was one of my heroes. So I was sitting, I'm 19, 20, and I'm sitting there going like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. Shane Williams had other plans, got the ball, scored in the corner, and they nailed was it Lee Byrne or something, nailed the conversion. And so I'm holding the Heineken Cup, and I was like, are we celebrating? And it kind of showed this mindset of like, we're definitely going to win. We're definitely going to win. We didn't. You got to love sport. Yeah. And suddenly, like, it was like the radio show was like, we're not going live. We're not doing it. at Leinster, like, do not bring on that Heineken Cup. So I'm literally sitting there going like, okay. So I just like ended up putting the Heineken Cup in my car and almost like driving home. So I thought it was my moment to become like the face of rugby or the voice of rugby.
Yeah.
And then I realized I better stick to the coaching.
Hey, this has to go on the show. Come on.
Absolutely. Hang on, listen. So you didn't give the trophy, never got given to the Ospreys who won it?
No. So this was a different competition.
Oh, different. Okay.
And so it all became about the Ospreys, but my job was to run on that when we win the double.
Yes.
And there's elements of cockiness, but I guess in that regard, you have to be prepared for winning.
Yeah.
And it was like one of those things that Leinster were unstoppable, and then the Ospreys where it was unbelievable. Like it was, I just remember the day, but it was one of those things that I was like, I can't believe I'm going to get to interview Brian O'Driscoll.
Yes.
And then Leinster gave me, when I moved to Canada, Leinster gave me this huge card that had the fattest profile picture that I took with Leinster and the skinniest, because it was like Leinster Rugby, the best diet on earth. And then it was, the next page said, Jack Hanratty, the only man not to be interviewed by Brian O'Driscoll. And it was a signed photo from Brian O'Driscoll.
No way.
That said, I have it somewhere, but it was the man that could never interview me, to Jack, good luck in Canada, Brian O'Driscoll.
No way.
And it was my going away present, yeah.
You got to, if you don't mind, at some point in time, take a photo of that and send it to us, because that's epic for this story. Which, by the way, I did have that dream come true. I got to, because obviously growing up South Africa, I loved Ireland, but I was an outside center. So Brian O'Driscoll was somebody I always admired. I got to interview him with the Hong Kong Sevens one year, which was very cool. It's a real experience.
It's cool, man, yeah. Because I remember coming off the field in Hong Kong, because he's always at Hong Kong.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
And he just goes, "Oh, you're how'd you go?" I said, "Oh yeah, we won." And I was sitting there and we were having a chat, bouncing 3 or 4 sentences, and I remember just going like, "Okay, I'm just going to presume he knew who I was. That's what I'll do here. I'll leave now immediately. Cheers, Brian. Chat to you later." Like, but it was unbelievable. Like, it was one of those things that you're kind of like, he's sitting there watching our game, and I was just like, this is the guy you're literally in awe of still. But it's some of those moments. I just love the way the game kind of takes you. Like, Jonathan Humphreys is currently my forwards coach, scrum coach. Jonathan Humphreys was captain of Wales when I was growing up as a kid. Wow. And I'm just sitting there going like, how am I talking to you? And it's really, and like, we play pickleball against each other, and literally we're playing doubles, and I'm like, John, hit the thing. But it's one of those things that, like, I just love rugby, because it's just so, it's just, he walks in going, "Hey Jack, good to see you," and I'm just sitting there going like, how cool is this? And it's those moments that you just said, and like, obviously, Robin, when you were with Fiji, like, those things, it's just unbelievable. It's ridiculous. So special. I love it. Amazing. Jack, listen, thank you for your time. Really appreciate you. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Also never stops talking, does Perenara, but I suppose that's the job of a scrum half. He feeds 5 out from the own line. Satutu picks up, finds Jordan skins one, back to Hoskins. Satutu, here comes Perenara, back on the inside, Barrett. Oh, not even Wes Craven could have directed that. It's frightening from the All Blacks, and Beauden Barrett gets a popular try in DC. Thanks for listening, you sleek sensations.
If you haven't already, please subscribe to Rugby Hive Podcast and catch us on all the socials at Rugby Hive.
We appreciate your support. Be safe out there, and we'll see you soon.